The Gay Science, Book 1 Learning to Distrust the First Explanation. Think about a system that ran for 20 years. Everyone assumed it was sound. The logs were clean. The operators were certified. The procedures were in place. Then it failed, not because of a sudden defect, but because no one had inspected the assumptions beneath normal operation. This is how I read Nietzsche's The Gay Science, Book 1. Not as a scholar. As an engineer who knows that stability is not proof that nothing is corroding underneath. I have spent close to 25 years in process engineering, and this channel is where I take that same habit, demanding evidence, checking assumptions, looking beneath normal operation, and turn it toward philosophy, religion, books, and the stories we tell ourselves. This is my reading of Book 1. Not a lecture. An inspection. Book 1 does not comfort the reader. It disturbs the confidence with which we explain ourselves. Nietzsche takes words we treat as finished, goodness, truth, sacrifice, work, science, suffering, nobility, conscience, and asks what is hiding underneath. What appears noble may be useful to someone. What appears humble may hide pride. What appears moral may be fear with better language. This is not an attack on morality. That would be too easy. The deeper point is that human beings are rarely as clean as their moral vocabulary suggests. One of the first shocks in Book 1 is the way unselfishness is examined. Society praises the self-sacrificing person, the obedient person, the useful person, the one who gives himself away. At first, this looks moral. But Nietzsche asks a dangerous question: useful to whom? The selfless person may be admired because he is easier to use. The obedient person may be praised because he does not disturb order. The person who gives too much may be called noble by those who receive from him. This does not mean every selfless act is false. It means selflessness must be examined by its effect on the person practicing it. If selflessness destroys the self, then we must ask whether it is virtue, or exploitation wearing moral language. That question remains painfully modern. From there, Book 1 moves into a harder view of life itself. Life, in this reading, is not gentle. To live is to keep cutting away what is dying inside us. Life renews itself by rejecting decay, weakness, and exhaustion. Growth is not only addition. It is also removal. That sounds harsh. But the harshness is deliberate. We like moral language that makes life appear gentle. But life often operates through severity. Old habits must die. Old identities may have to be abandoned. Old loyalties may have to be questioned. Sometimes the part of us that once protected us becomes the part that now imprisons us. A commandment may say, "Do not kill." But life replies, "Something in you must die for something else to live." This is not permission for cruelty. It is a question about whether morality has the courage to face the harshness built into growth. Book 1 is also suspicious of followers. A strong teaching does not only need admirers. It needs people strong enough to carry it without weakening it. Nietzsche describes two kinds of undesirable disciples. One cannot say no. The other says, half and half, to everything. The first is too soft to endure sharp thought. The second dilutes everything into mediocrity. This is one of the most useful warnings in the book. Every strong idea is in danger not only from enemies, but from weak followers. A teaching can be destroyed by the people who claim to love it, if they make it comfortable, respectable, harmless, and socially acceptable. A dangerous truth becomes a slogan. A severe discipline becomes lifestyle language. A demand for honesty becomes, be open-minded. A philosophy of courage becomes decoration. Sometimes an enemy who understands the danger of a thought is less harmful than a disciple who makes it safe. Then the inquiry turns toward science. Science is not treated as a pure temple of reason. Its growth came through mixed motives. Some pursued science to understand God's wisdom. Some believed knowledge would make humanity moral and happy. Some imagined science as innocent, harmless, and free from darker human impulses. These motives may have been errors. But those errors still helped science grow. That is one of the subtler insights in Book 1. Valuable things are not always created from pure motives. Human beings often build lasting structures while misunderstanding why they are building them. And yet science gives modern humanity something deeply satisfying. It gives firm ground. Human laws change. Moral customs change. Religious interpretations change. Social values change. What one age calls noble, another calls cruel. What one generation calls truth, another calls prejudice. In that instability, science discovers things that hold. It gives results that can become the basis for further discovery. Earlier human beings were astonished by fairy tales because they lived under fixed moral worlds. They wanted escape, madness, flight. Modern human beings are different. We know too much about uncertainty. So we are astonished when something remains steady. For us, the miracle is not leaving the ground. The miracle is finding ground that does not move. Book 1 then gives a sharp observation about youth. Young people, full of unused force, often do not choose causes carefully. They are attracted not by the truth of the cause, but by the sight of eagerness around it. They see heat, movement, danger, intensity. They do not first ask whether the cause is worthy. They see a burning match and discover that they themselves are powder barrels. The clever seducer understands this. He does not persuade with reasons. He offers explosion. This is not only political. It is psychological. Sometimes people do not want truth. They want a monster large enough to fight. The same suspicion appears when nature looks at law. We often think penal laws reveal the character of a people. But perhaps they reveal what a people finds strange, foreign, monstrous, or threatening. The harshest punishments often fall not on what is most harmful, but on what feels most alien to the moral imagination of the community. Law is not only justice. Law is also fear made official. A legal system does not merely tell us what a people values. It tells us what they fear becoming. It reveals their boundaries, their anxieties, their taboos, their sense of contamination. A society's punishments are often confessions. They show us the stranger standing at the edge of its self-image. Then comes the question of suffering. There is no romantic worship of suffering here. But there is also no trust in a life that has become too protected from it. Modern people may hate pain more intensely because they know less of it directly. Earlier human beings lived closer to bodily distress, violence, hunger, fear. Pain was not an abstraction. It was part of survival. Modern people, protected from many forms of direct suffering, may become more sensitive to smaller discomforts. They may turn pain into an accusation against existence itself. The remedy offered is harsh. The cure for distress may be distress, not cruelty, not glorification of pain, but the return of proportion. Without some knowledge of distress, the soul may begin to call every discomfort a catastrophe. Again and again, Book 1 returns to motives. What people believe about their motives may shape their happiness more than the real motives themselves. A person may act from pride but believe he acted from duty. He may act from fear but believe he acted from love. He may act from resentment but believe he acted from justice. The believed motive becomes the story in which the person lives. This is why self-knowledge is so difficult. Human beings do not only hide motives from others. They hide them from themselves. They need a story in which they appear bearable. And then the thought goes further. Goodness may begin where bad eyesight can no longer detect the refined evil impulse. The more dull the eye, the larger the kingdom of goodness. Children and ordinary people may be cheerful because they do not see deeply into mixed motives. Great thinkers are gloomier because they detect impurity everywhere. This does not mean goodness is impossible. It means moral innocence depends partly on not seeing too much. The burden of thought is that it cannot easily return to simple admiration. One of the deepest reflections in Book 1 concerns appearance. The thinker awakens inside the dream of existence. But not in order to escape it. He realizes that he must go on dreaming, just as a sleepwalker must keep dreaming in order not to fall. Appearance is not merely a false mask covering some hidden essence. Appearance is the living thing itself. We do not stand outside life and look at it from a pure position. We are inside the dance. Even the thinker is part of the dream he analyzes. His knowledge, his doubt, his interpretation, his language, all of it belongs to existence, not outside it. The task is not to tear away appearance in order to find a final hidden world behind it. The task is to understand appearance as the living field in which meaning, knowledge, value, and selfhood operate. The veil is not dead. The veil is alive. Near the end, Book 1 takes a surprising turn toward nobility. What makes a person noble? Not sacrifice. Not passion. Not doing things for others. Not simple selflessness. Nobility lies in rare valuation. The noble person senses values for which no scale yet exists. He acts from overflowing strength rather than need. But then comes an unexpected question. If nobility has always praised the rare exception, perhaps it has often judged the ordinary unfairly. Perhaps the final refinement of nobility is different. Perhaps the highest noble character becomes an advocate of the rule. The rare person may become noble not by despising ordinary human life, but by understanding why it must be preserved. Book 1 closes by training us to distrust the first explanation. Do not immediately believe the public name of a thing. Goodness may contain dull eyesight. Conscience may contain fear of isolation. Forgiveness may contain exhausted revenge. Science may contain mistaken motives. Law may contain cultural fear. Politics may contain the selling of intellect. Work may contain slavery without delight. Reputation may hurt more than guilt. Nobility may require defending the ordinary. Suffering may be desired by those who need a reason to act. The aim is not to make life meaningless. The aim is to make thought more honest. What I take from Book 1 is not that human beings are false in everything they do. That would be too simple, and perhaps too arrogant. What I take from it is that we are mixed. Our goodness may contain fear. Our sacrifice may contain pride. Our truth may contain taste. Our conscience may contain the fear of isolation. Our courage may contain the need for explosion. Our morality may contain old habits that no one has inspected for a long time. As a chemical engineer, I understand one thing clearly: a system can run for years and still carry hidden weaknesses. Normal operation is not proof of sound design. Repetition is not proof of truth. Stability is not proof that nothing is corroding underneath. Human beings are similar. Societies are similar. Beliefs are similar. Sometimes thought begins only when the first explanation fails. If this way of reading interests you, stay with me through the next books. In the next episode, I will move to Book 2 of The Gay Science, How a Freer Mind Lives with Knowledge, Art, Laughter, Danger, and the Burden of Seeing Too Much. My name is Faisal Siddiqui. Thank you for listening.